Hey, in this lesson, we're going to learn about while loops inside of Raspberry Pi's Minecraft. And we're going to start by just looking at a simple while loop. So first thing you need is a count variable. And we'll go ahead and start counting at 1. And then we'll say while, and notice while turns orange, which means it's a reserved word in Python. And we're going to loop while the count is less than or equal to 5. Okay, then a colon, and when we press enter, there's going to be a tab. Okay, this is a block of code. Remember, when we tab over, everything that's lined up with that tab will execute after the colon until we tab back over to the original left side. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is print that count. Okay, and then we'll increment our count. So we're going to say count plus equals 1. That's going to increase the count by 1 every time this loop runs. Okay, then we can go ahead and get left justified again. So now we're outside of that while loop, and we'll go ahead and print that our loop has finished so that we know when it's finished running. So let's go up to run. We'll run the module, and now in the shell we can see the count was 1, then it looped again, incremented to 2, 3, 4, 5, and then our loop was finished. Okay, last time we learned about conditional statements in Python, and you can mix your conditional statements inside of your while loops. So we could say while the count is less than or equal to 5, and then we'll put an if condition. So if count equals 2, okay, then we're going to print 2 is my favorite number. Okay, then it's going to print the rest of it as part of the else. Okay, so else will print the count, and we want to increment that count by 1 regardless of whether it was equal to 2 or not. So now when we run our module, right, there's 1, then 2 is my favorite number, 3, 4, 5, and our loop is finished. Okay, so now let's play in our Minecraft world with these ideas of loops. So if we come back up to the beginning here, and let's go ahead and import our random number generator. So we'll import random. Okay, and then we'll let the x position be a random integer, so rand int, from negative 127 to positive 127. Okay, and then we'll let the y position be a random integer, so rand int again, and this time we'll go from 0 to 64. And then we'll let our z position be a random integer from negative 127 to 127, right, the bounds of our world. Okay, then let's set the tile position. So world.player.set tile position to x, y, and z. So what we have currently is going to teleport our player to 1 random position. Okay. Now, if we want to do this several times, okay, first thing we're going to need to do is import the time. Okay, and after we set the tile position, we're going to sleep, so we'll do a time.sleep for 3 seconds. Okay, time. So now let's come back up here and we're going to make a while loop. So we'll set our count variable at 1, and then we'll say while count is less than, let's teleport 3 times. So while count is less than 3. Now anything that we want to happen in that while loop has to be tabbed over, right? So after our colon, that's where we're going to pick our 3 random integers and then assign the tile's position and sleep for 3 seconds. Okay, but after we do that, we need to increment our count variable. So count plus equals 1, we'll add 1 to the count each time. Okay, so let's go ahead and run our module. Here's my first drop. Okay, here's my second drop. That put me in the water. Okay, and we only have the 2 drops because once we increment count to 2, or sorry, we increment count to 3, 3 is no longer less than 3. So this loop would only teleport us 2 times. Okay, now we could make this more fun by having the user decide how many times they want to teleport. So let's say our maximum is equal to input, and then how many times would you like to teleport? Okay, and that value they enter is going to be stored as a string in the variable, well, max is a reserved word, so we'll call it max teleport. Okay, so since that is a string that gets input, when we compare it with count, our max underscore teleport, we're going to first need to cast it as an int. Right, so the user inputs a digit, but it gets stored as a string, and we can't compare a string with an int. So we're going to cast max teleport as an int so we can compare it with count. We'll also put an equals there since we're starting at 1 with our count variable. That way it'll include their maximum for the number of times that they would want to teleport. Okay, so this is going to loop through the number of times that they want to go. So we'll go ahead and run our module, and let's say they want to teleport 3 times. So there's our first drop, there's our second drop, and there's our third drop. And the third drop left us on the land. Okay, another thing that we could do with our looping is we could set blocks at the places where we land. So if we want to do the set block method, okay, we'll do world dot set block, and we'll use position X, position Y, position Z, and let's do block type 8 for water. So we'll set water there. So we're going to need to grab the position of our player. So our player position is equal to world.player.get position. Okay, and this will set 1 block of type 8 at that player's exact position. Now, if we add a counter to our situation, then we can create a while loop. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this 30 times. So we'll say while count is less than or equal to 30. Okay, and then we're gonna tab this over. Oops, let's get the whole thing so that it's indented after our colon. So while this player is walking for 30 seconds, then it's going to change their block where they're standing to 8, block type 8, which is water. Okay, then we need to increment our count, so plus equals 1 to increment the count, and we want this to happen about every second. So let's go ahead and do a time.sleep lasting 1 second so that our loop iterates and pauses each second. So we'll go up and run our module. Oh, whoops, we don't need that teleport anymore because we're not teleporting. Okay, so we'll run again. There we go. And now let's turn around the other way. We're standing in front of a tree. There we go. And now we can come over here and we'll hop up and look around and see a flood of water is following me. It's creating a river of water everywhere I walk. Right? And that's going to continue to happen for 30 seconds. And we can see now that the water has stopped following me. So if we teleport up, or fly up above, we can see there's that river of water that got created for the 30 seconds that I was traveling. Okay, not every loop has to have a count. You can do something that is called a forever loop, and that would be when something is true. So while true is going to happen forever. It's going to do this thing over and over and over again. So rather than creating a flood of water everywhere we walk, let's make a trail of flowers. Okay, and we'll change this from 0.1 to be 0.2, so every 10th of a second, and then we can get rid of our increment on the count. So let's come back over to our world. My world is full of water right now, so I'm going to create a new world that is not all full of water. Okay, so here we are on the surface of our new world. Let's go over and run our module. Okay, and then we can walk around our world, and we'll cycle back around. And now we can see, when we look at where we came from, we're leaving a trail of blue flowers as we walk. And that's going to keep on happening forever, because we're stuck inside of a forever loop. Right, so as I cycle back around here, if I get up in the air, I can look down and see there's my trail of blue flowers, and that's never going to stop until I exit the program. Okay, so notice that down here in my shell, it doesn't ever get me out with the 3 lines for the command prompt, because this is running forever. Okay, so if we want to stop that run, right, we're going to have to exit our program. And then it says, do you want to kill it? And we'll say, okay. Now if we reopen our file, so I saved that in my documents and I was in loops, so we'll go ahead and open that back up again. Okay, oh, now I'm in Thani. Okay. In Thani, if I'm running, so I can run and then come over to my world and we'll go ahead and walk around, lay some more flowers. You can put some flowers in the snow, and here's my trail of flowers behind me. Okay. If you're in Thani, there's a button that says stop, and that'll stop the run without closing your program. If you're in idle, so we'll go up here to idle, which was what we were using last time, and we're gonna open our module. Oh, whoops, let's go to file, open. Okay, and then documents and loops. Okay, here's my loops program. And when we run, okay, here we are back again, leaving a trail of flowers everywhere we go. Okay, if I want to get out without exiting the program, then I want to come up here to my shell and click on the shell menu, and then we're going to go down to restart the shell. And that's going to end the run, right? And now I've got my command prompt again, and I can continue with editing my code. Okay, so let's change our while true loop. And this time we're going to capture some user input. And we'll say input, enter your message. Okay, and then if the user input equals exit, okay, then we're going to break the loop. And notice that keyword break, it turns orange, right? So that's a, a keyword in Python. Okay, then print, actually we'll do the chat. So we'll do world dot post to chat, and then the user input. Okay, and then when the loop breaks, then we'll hop out of that loop and we'll print loop ended. Okay, so let's go ahead and run our module. Okay, so we're prompted to enter our message in the shell. So let's say hello world. And when I press enter, that displays in my chat. Now it looks for another message. Nice to meet you. Right? And that message gets displayed in the chat. When I'm done and I want to get out, I press exit, or type exit, press enter, and now that break has occurred, and it breaks me out of the forever loop so that I can come down and print the loop ended message at the bottom. Okay, now another way that I could structure this is, instead of prompting for my message outside the loop, so we're going to move this to the beginning here. Okay, and then so we get their message. Now instead of a while true, I'm going to give myself a Boolean condition. So while the user input is not equal, exclamation point equal, to exit. Okay, so while the user's input, their message, is not equal to exit, then we're going to go ahead and print, or actually we'll do it the chat. So world post to chat, and we'll paste that right up there. Okay, and then we're going to input for another message. So we're going to post their message, and then we're going to input to get another message from the user. Okay, then we can do an else, and whoops, there we go, we'll tab that print over. So the while is going to happen while this is true, and then when it's no longer true, then it's going to come down and execute the else statement, but only once. Okay, so let's go ahead and run. Okay, so we enter our message, hello world, right there it is. Then nice to meet you, there it is. We type in exit, and our loop is ended. So we were able to structure that same process using a while else as opposed to a forever loop that we tried to do last time.